Hey guys, how's it going? You're with me on Build a PC with Syah. Last week we have talked about graphics card, and this week, as promised, I'm going to talk about hard disk and RAMs. So let's start with RAM. This here in my hands is a RAM, a random access memory. What does it do? Well, this is the place where temporary data is stored. Doesn't matter whether it's operating system, applications or games, so that your processor can quickly access this data. Let's take a closer look at RAM. Here in my hands, it's a DDR3 RAM. DDR stands for double data rack. 3 is the latest version of it, and it's faster than its predecessor, the DDR2, DDR and SDRAM. In order to differentiate DDR3 from the other versions, it's this lump here in the slot. DDR2, DDR and SDRAM has different position for this lump. SD will be much higher and DDR2 will be different place as well. So this will avoid you from putting in the wrong RAM on your motherboard. Okay, when you go out shopping for a new RAM, it's a no-brainer, because the only thing you need to look out for is the capacity and models. Like for instance, this is a 1 gigabyte of RAM, and it's indicated in on the sticker here. There are different kinds of models and brands available for RAMs. This one is Kingston, and some other brands that are known here are Pacer, Transcend, Corsair. But there's not much difference in terms of price between all of these different brands. Especially between Kingston and Corsair, because those two are the more familiar brands. Unless you're going for a high performance RAM, you won't have to search for the best price in all the stores, because all of the stores will have the same price range for the typical RAMs. The high performance RAMs usually will come with dual channel. That means 2 RAMs sticks in one box, because dual channel is faster than single channel, because motherboards configuration, the RAM configurations are 2 or 4 slots. So if you want dual channel, you need to have 2 or 4 RAMs occupying the RAM slots on your motherboards. But one thing to note, if you want to purchase a high performance RAM, you need to check the motherboard first if it supports that kind of memory timings, the megahertz, because some motherboards are limited to just 1066 megahertz. So no matter how fast your RAM, it will only run until 1066 megahertz. So if you want to fully utilize that high performance RAM, you need a better motherboard. So please make sure before you invest that kind of money on that kind of RAM. So now that we are done with RAM, we go on to hard disk. So hard disk is another form of storage. Whereas the RAM is a temporary storage, the hard disk is a permanent one. Permanent, I mean by it retains its data when your PC is shut down. Whereas the RAM, the moment you shut down your PC, the data will be lost. So that's why hard disks are used as storage for all your movies, your MP3s, your games and everything. And it's much larger than the RAM. RAM now, the biggest capacity is 8 gigabytes. For hard disk, the biggest one you can find so far is 2 terabytes. So you can see the differences between RAM and hard disk. Okay, let's go a bit further into the different types of hard disk. Here, my hands is a really old hard disk. If I'm mistaken, it's taken from my second PC, which was in the 90s, if I'm mistaken. This is a Maxter hard disk. I know some of you might not be familiar with this kind of brand because it's not non-existent right now. But Maxter used to be one of the big brands, along with Western Digital and Seagate. Anyway, this one is a 40 gigabytes and has a PATA parallel ATA interface. Some of you might notice that I mentioned this before in the motherboards episode. Before the current technology in hard disk, the SATA serial ATA came along, which is here in my hands. PATA was the de facto interface for hard disk. It uses these pins here to connect to the motherboard. The power also, it uses the conventional power supply connector, and it also has a jumper in order to differentiate the primary, the secondary hard disk in case that there's more than one hard disk in your PC. So you can see back then it's quite tedious for PC users to configure their PCs. So along came serial ATA. This version is a notebook hard disk version. That's why it's smaller. You can see it's smaller. But SATA hard disk is also available in this form factor, 3.5 inch. This is a 2.5 inch hard disk. The latest SATA hard disk has a newer interface. So there's no more pins to connect to. Instead, SATA interface is much smaller compared to PATA. This part here connects to the motherboard where data is transferred to the PC, and this is the power connector. And the jumper pins are not existent here, even on the bigger 3.5 SATA hard disk. So you won't get confused on which one is primary and which one is secondary hard disk. The newer SATA hard disk are much faster than the previous PATA hard disk, and the latest, they even have a newer version of SATA, which is SATA 3. The SATA 3 has a transfer speed of up to 6 gigabit per second, compared to the SATA 2, the previous version. It only can go up to 3 gigabit per second. All of the newer motherboards now are equipped with SATA 3 ports, so you don't have to worry about getting an older SATA ports or anything like that. Okay, some of you might be wondering, where's the SSD, the solid state drive? I don't have a SSD right here with me right now to show it to you, but I can say that the SSD, the solid state drive, looks much similar to a notebook 2.5 inch hard disk. There's also a 1.8 inch version, a smaller version, but basically the design, the size is relatively similar to this one. So SSD is much similar to a RAM because it uses capacitors as storage, but in a RAM you will lose your data immediately. There's no electricity, but in SSD they have come up in a way to retain that data in the capacitors, so you will get the best of both worlds. A fast data access and a permanent storage. So if you have a little bit money saved up for your PC, I suggest you go for an entry-level SSD, maybe a 64 gig SSD. Like for me, I'm using a Crucial M4 SSD, a 64 gig version, which cost me around 200 plus. To me, it's a good investment because the benefits are really noticeable, especially when you turn on your PC. You will notice a faster booting time compared to a conventional hard disk, and you will also notice faster loading times for your games, for your applications, and your software as well. Okay, there's one more kind of storage in the form of optical disc. Yes, your DVDs, your CDs are optical disc. So they need a reader, which is the optical drive. So the optical drive reads all your CDs, DVDs, and transfer all that data to your motherboard and for your PC to process. This kind of data, the optical disc, permanent data, unless you break the CD, of course. But it's almost the same as hard disk. The only difference is the storage is in a disk and it's limited by the capacity of that disk. A lot of PCs nowadays don't really use optical drives. That's why it's phasing out slowly. I myself don't really use optical drives unless I'm formatting my PC where I need to install OS using the optical drive. But now you can install your OS using your USB flash drive. You can install all your drivers, download it from the internet, and even games now you just download it from the internet. You don't need to buy the physical copy. That's why I just mentioned a brief mention for optical drive in this episode. Okay, when you're going shopping for a new hard disk, doesn't matter if it's an external hard disk or a normal hard disk for your PC. One important thing to note is the rotating speed of the hard disk. Some shops display this information, especially if it's a notebook hard disk, because your typical notebook hard disk rotating speed is 5,400 RPM. So if you want a faster hard disk, which is 7,200 RPM, you need to make sure that it is the right model. The same goes if you looking for a external hard disk. The much more expensive ones usually will have 7,200 RPM. So you might be wondering why is it much more expensive than the other conventional external hard disk. One may be the rotating speed, one may be the anti-shock feature, or maybe additional ports like Firewire or Thunderbolt or USB 3.0. So there's three big manufacturers here in Malaysia. There's Western Digital, Seagate, and Samsung. I personally prefer Samsung hard disk because they perform better and they are more reliable. So next week will be the time that you all been waiting for. I will be assembling all of the components that we've been talking about for the past 4 weeks. So you will be watching me putting it together one by one. So until next week, see you.